Alright, it is 10:03 a.m. and I had a few trades with DPLS and none of them worked out. DPLS just doesn't have the ability to balance or continue to uptrend, and there are too many sellers at the ask with size, and there are also too many sellers at the ask with hidden size. The last trade right here, there was this hidden seller at 394. It just was not able to uptrend because no matter how many times people were hitting the ask, it just wouldn't be able to uptrend. I'm gonna guess it's going to uptrend eventually, but it's gonna do it without me because I'm not too interested in trading this stock anymore after three different setups and then neither of them worked out. So that's gonna be the case with this one. It's just a bad stock overall because it just didn't work out. It was unfortunate, but I did try and it could have worked out. At 9:33, I was first interested in it right here for watch it spike now without me. That's just how ugly this stock has been. At 9:39, I was in at 4:05, which was right here. Why was I interested in it? I might have said 9:35. The real time right here is 9:33. I was interested in this because it was, to me, a dip and rip setup. So, it's been uptrending for the past few days. And then right here, we had a downtrend. So I thought, this could be something that just opens, it sells off, and then it kind of finds a bottom somewhere. And then it eventually balances and regains itself. And it could be something that could break the high right here and then be like a super cool morning spike. And I was in it for that reason. I did get out at 9:40. I really gave it I gave it some time because it was gonna either work out or not work out. I didn't want to just get out of this for like a baby scratch or something like that. It's just gonna work or not work. I did get out at 4:03 right here when it was looking very bad. The price action, it was showing that it was going to break under the 4 cent level, and yeah, that was just a tiny loss. And then I did try again at 9:46. This was now more of a dip buy setup after I had the panic right here. It started to turn around, and my idea was is that this thing could eventually, ideally, make a move towards VWAP. And I did buy 5,000 shares at 946 at 395, which was right here. And this one did not work out either. Another big hidden seller at the ask at 399 just didn't look like it was going to work. And I also got out of this one at 394. As you can see, even though none of this is really working, I'm not like losing a lot. It's just like tiny scratches because it's just not ultimately doing what I wanted to. So I did get out at 953 right here. Again, when it looked like it was going to break the level. And it actually held itself together. And then I tried one more time, but this time I had 12,000 shares, not because I'm crazy, but because I calculated my dollar risk level and everything. And considering the fact that we already had like, some price action going on, it's just less likely for it to just break the day low and start to panic a bunch. So I moved my risk level higher. I had more shares for that reason. And I bought at 955, 12,000 shares at 393 right here. 393 is when I got in, a pretty good entry. And I gave it some time. Again, hidden sellers at the ask, and then they just started to bring it down, and it wasn't looking so good anymore. And I got out at 10:03 at 392. This thing can continue to, ideally try to make a move towards the upside at some point, but I didn't like how we were taking out all the support at 392, and if it's gonna break that, it might get to the 39 level, and then with a panic, it could get back to the 38. So yeah, very disappointing this stock, but it could have worked out, and it can still work out, just not with me in it anymore. It just doesn't look too nice. It seems like it could try to work out, but then it doesn't, especially because there are people at the ask that have a lot of hidden size. And then we have people like here that actually do show their size. I'll make an update later. If I had a guess, it's probably going to work without me, but I just didn't want to hold through all of this ugliness anymore because, it did fail right here, sold off, it did fail right here, and went a channel lower. If it's going to turn around, it could totally do it. I just don't like the way it trades. It's kind of ugly. Alright, it is 11:31, and I am in a trade with AMC. It's just a $5 risk level. It's a listed stock, so I don't have much money into this. But as you can see right here, if we look at this 1 day chart going over this gap down day and also this day as well, we can see an over an overlining trend line over these spikes right here, and it looks like it trades along with it. I like how it's already done this a few times where, it downtrends, gets back to the trend line, uptrends, tries again, holds above it a little better than here, and then it uptrends again, comes back down, and now we have like a little blip below the trend line. We uptrend again, and now we're downtrending, and at this point we have distance from the trend line. And we also have, if we look today, an inverse head and shoulder. So if this thing doesn't work out, if it breaks below this, I have a stop at 992. If it breaks the stop, that's too bad. I think it's a good attempt. Nonetheless, and we also got that inverse head and shoulders, the shoulder head, and then the shoulder right here. And the goal will be VWAP. Obviously, if we can get above VWAP, that will be nicer too. Again, if it doesn't work out, I'll probably lose maybe $1, but if there's like slippage and craziness, I should lose maybe $5, which is my, risk level. So I'll just watch this. And as for DPLS, this one did work, but I don't mind it. This thing was trading ugly. And I'm glad though it still worked because at least I was on the right track. What I could have done maybe with that last setup is that I could have just held on to it until it actually broke my risk level, which was 392. When I sold, I did sell when it looked like it was going to break it at 10:03, and it didn't do it. But maybe I could have actually have held until it actually did it, like it was right here when I first tried it. At this point, once it actually was breaking below the support level, I believe at 406 is when I started to get out. So maybe that would have allowed me to have been able to have sold into this uptrend right here, but at the same time, I don't mind it. Now this thing can do a break above VWAP. I might even be looking at this. And that could be something that can make a move towards the upside. But I don't know how this thing has been trading since the last time because I've been working on my primary business. There could still be a bunch of ugly hidden sellers at the ask that I just don't want to deal with. Or maybe it will actually break past VWAP and do something higher. I bet it could do it, especially if I'm not in this setup. But I'll make an update later, and I'll be watching AMC to see if it can play out or not. If it doesn't, that's fine, but I saw the setup and I had to take it. Alright, it is 3:25 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be down on the day $3 and 11 pennies, which is totally fine because I think I learned a lot, especially with the way I traded my last setup with AMC. The last setup I had with AMC was something that I could trade like 10,000 shares and be super profitable, or at least be on the right track. Something that I can continue to develop with a larger risk level, God willing, over a longer period of time. Just to go over briefly, DPLS did do that thing, and maybe with that thing that I mentioned in the last recording, I could allow something that isn't a morning panic bounce play to potentially break my risk level and then consider selling immediately. Because again, when I got out right here, it looked like it was going to break this 392 level. It didn't, and then it continued to uptrend eventually. It's different if it's like a morning panic bounce play, like right here, maybe I'm long at 405, it uptrends a little, and then if I don't try to cut the trade right when it looks like it's trying to break the level, or when it's breaking it, if I kind of allow it to maybe downtrend a bit more, then it could be something like this where it just has like a bigger panic, and that's pretty bad. But once it's later in the day and there has been some more time that has passed since the market opened, it's just less likely for something like that to be so extreme and just panic like crazy. So maybe in a situation like this, I could be in a trade, and then once we break the level and we start getting 391 or 39, I can then, try to sell into that, so that if it uptrends like it does here, despite how ugly it might look and how long it's taking, because there's big sellers with hidden size at the ask and everything, I can still be a part of the setup and that will be profitable. So I think that's a good lesson with that. And then with AMC, I did try it a few times, but just to go over it, I like how it was following this over this long period of time, which I guess isn't that long, just 2 days, but it's done a lot in terms of price action. It followed this trend line. It broke past it here, went exponential, came back under, topped, and then it tried to swindle its way out of it, but then it came back to the trend line. And then once it started to have distance from it, it was looking like a pretty good setup. I did have my first trade, the one I went over in the recording was 1127, which was right here. And I was thinking with all of that in mind with the trend line, I saw this thing right here, an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder. And I was long at 1127, and that was 10 shares at 1002 and a half. It didn't really work out. I mean, it got to, I guess, the neckline, right? 1006, but it didn't get to like VWAP or anything like that. It didn't break the upper part of the potential inverse head and shoulder setup 1015. It didn't do anything like that, and it downtrended, and it eventually did get to my stop, which was at 992, and that was going to be right around right here, and right here actually, yeah, 992. So right here is when I probably got out because of my stop. This thing doesn't show the time that I got executed, 11:28. This was just when I placed my order, my stop right after I had my entry. So it's not like, that's when I got filled. And yeah, it kind of annoyed me because it got to my stop at 992, but then it didn't get much lower. And then we were playing off of the day low, which was right here. It didn't break below 990. It just got to 992. It just, 1 penny enough to execute my stop. So that kind of threw me off. And I thought, I've been in this situation where it just gets to my stop and then it gets triggered and then it turns around. And I didn't want to be, that guy who's going to miss out on such a dumb thing like that. So once we saw that it got to the day low right here, but it didn't break under it, I did long again. And that was at 11:48, right when it was starting to rebound, and I got in at 997 is what I'll call that. And it didn't work out. As you can see, it was just a baby rebound. And then it downtrended some more, and I did get out at 984, which was my next stop, which wasn't so bad because then at this point, at least it broke my stop and it got a little lower. But then at this point, I drew this trend line because I thought, even though it's following, in theory, the 1 day trend line, it's important to also look at the intraday trend line. So I had this one drawn playing off of the tops right here. And then once we were showing that it was trying to break the trend line with the price action, I did long, but just 5 shares. And why 5 shares? Because I thought, at 12:10, I'm going to be in the setup right here. And I was in at, it looks like 998. I thought, what if it just gets above the trend line and had the wick here and it kind of came back, and it could obviously continue the uptrend, but what if I'm in just, full size and then it just blips a little and then it breaks and gets back under the trend line, and then that sucks. And then I just took another L. So my idea was that I'm going to be long here just a tiny position so that if it immediately starts to make a move, ideally towards VWAP, at least I still have shares, but ideally, if it can just rebound and kind of make like a higher low off of the panic bottom, which I also liked here because it has so much volume. I thought it would be much harder for it to go back to this new day low because of how much volume it took for it to get down there. If it could just show a sign that it's going to make a higher low, I can be long more shares because I'm not just going to have more shares with that in mind, but now I can move my risk level much higher to the day low instead of making it like the day low with a lot of slippage. Now I can bring it pretty close to the day low and just a little slippage. So I thought worst case scenario, I'll be getting out if it breaks the day low at 981, and then with slippage maybe I'm out at 970. That was it for that. So that way I was able to get now more shares. I had 20 shares instead of my previous 10 share positions. And once we had that thing that I was going for at 1232, I did buy right here. Once it showed that, it did a higher low off of here. And then I had a new trend line to, now go against the downtrending momentum. 1032, I bought 15 shares at 995. And it did uptrend. It did work out, but it didn't get above VWAP, unfortunately. I did sell 5 shares at 1007 at 1247. 1247, I sold some here on this first uptrend at 1007. And then I sold some more at 10:02, at 12:52, when it looked like it was going to maybe break the trend line that was just made. And then I did sell 5 more shares at 10:12. This was my best sell at 12:56, which was right here, which was a good sell because you know I might not ever get to VWAP, which was the case here, but I still have some shares left in case that it will get to VWAP later. And then I had the last 5 shares. It was a stop that I placed at 9.99, which the idea was is that it just managed to hold above this level right here and make a move towards VWAP. Worst case scenario, at some point it's going to get to 9.99 again. It doesn't get above VWAP, and that's too bad, but at least I gave it a shot. I gave her the opportunity to ideally, despite the fact that it broke this trend line right here, still allow it to maybe consolidate and then eventually get above VWAP. But that didn't happen. As you know, it shows right here at 12:59 I did get out. Actually, no, that's when I had my stop placed. I got out at 2:33 it seems like. So right here, it finally touched 9.99. I got out right there. So I did not make very much, but let me just go and show my trades for today. You know, I'm trading small size, which is ideal. This one didn't work out, the dip and rip. This one didn't work out either. This one did work out, so this one I could have sold a lot better. And again, with DPLS, maybe I could have sold, you know, some right here in the uptrend, and then maybe right under VWAP when it's failing to break above it. Maybe my average would have been 4. And then with that in mind, right, that would have been $8. And then these didn't work out. And then this one with AMC, obviously it could have gotten a lot better. It could have gotten above VWAP. Maybe if I had an average of 1020 because it got above VWAP and I had some sales under it, of course, this thing would have been kind of nice, right? And that wasn't with that much share. So clearly a lot of good lessons learned. Not much, you know, in terms of big position sizes, but I think I'm just trying to learn the framework. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Unfortunately, tomorrow I'm gonna have my other side of my wisdom teeth taken out, so I might be kind of thrown off. I have my appointment at 3:20, so I don't, you know, have to miss out on the market for tomorrow. But that's pretty much it for right now. A lot of good lessons learned. Yeah, I wish I was, you know, getting more setups working and being profitable, but at least I can see the things that I'm doing wrong and try to get better, trading those with, you know, all of that knowledge that I was able to get today. That's it for today.